Talia, your lab in psychology has this wonderful objective to study those things that make humans infinitely fascinating.
Sorry.
What are some of these things?
Oh, there are many things that make humans infinitely fascinating. A couple things that I study is the ability for humans to find other minds and connect with them in a deep level. That may be the way we do it may be unique to our species.
So what are some examples?
All right, well, one of the ways that we can connect with people is we look into their eyes and we gauge their interest. We gauge whether they are sparkly and switched on and interested, or whether they're glazed over. And we have a really good sense of the minute differences that predict whether or not we can connect and continue to connect and establish a rapport and a relationship. And we do that in an extent that other animals, I don't think, do.
So how do we do that? What are the cues that we're catching?
Well, it seems to be that they're definitely in the eyes, and we're trying to narrow down now what those cues are.
And so how will you do that experiment? You'll have different pictures of faces or something?
That's right. Well, the first several studies that we've done was to find what is the moment when we can see those cues that determine a mental life in another face. Science in the last 30 years has been really interested in faces and why we are so drawn to the pattern of a face, 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth. But what my lab was really interested in, and my graduate student Christine Lucer performed several studies to show that it's not just that we're drawn to faces that have a mental life, that have a mind attached. So we're not drawn necessarily to mannequins and portraits of people in the National Gallery. We're drawn to minds that can connect with us. So how do we search a face and find a mind in there? And to find that out, we made these artificial continua between a doll and morph to a human. So take a doll photograph and a human photograph and make all these different blends of the two images. And we ask people very simply, pick the moment where it looks like it becomes alive or looks like it has a mind. And that's a very specific place, and people are really consistent about that tipping point.
And where is that along the spectrum?
Well, it was interesting to find out because it's not 51% in, right, which would be the sort of the mathematical tipping point. It's much closer to the human endpoint. We're really stringent about what counts as having a mind. It's around 65% of a morph. So you have to be at least 65% human to even have a 50-50 shot about people saying that you have a mind.
You've done this at different ages. I know you've done this in babies. Have you done it at different ages or?
Well, we've done it with different faces of different ages, and the effect seems to hold. But what was particularly interesting, we actually went to this remote tribe in Cambodia, a hill tribe, where they hadn't had much exposure with white faces. And we put down our morphs. We went to a hut, and we put down our morphs on the floor, and we said, when does the face become alive? This is a very simple task in the West. And they couldn't do the task. They would sometimes even switch the endpoints. They would just random images that say, I think this is alive, this Barbie face is alive. And we were scratching our heads, why can't they find the place where it becomes alive? And then we realized all our morphs were Caucasian faces, and they weren't used to Caucasian faces.
They look the same.
They all look the same, yes. So we hardly made Cambodian morphs, Southeast Asian doll faces turning into Southeast Asian looking human faces. And we laid those faces out on the floor of the hut, and they said, oh, there's the point. Yeah. And it was exactly the same point. Right. So there seems to be a universal sort of tipping point of when a face looks like it has a mind attached. And we, in the States, we did the study where we just showed people a little bit of a face and said, can people do the same task? Turns out they can do the task perfectly well if you give them an eye. They can just see an eye, they can determine if it comes with a mind attached. But if you give them a mouth, a piece of skin, a nose, they're hopeless.
And this type of cue to get from an expression into the sense of what that mind is thinking is a very important human quality. Is that?
That's right. I think we lock into the eyes because those are where the cues to engagement are, and we can monitor those moment by moment cues. This person is connecting with me. This person's not connecting with me. I need to change my approach so that we can reconnect, and that's very important.
And that's a unique human trait?
I'm not sure. I think maybe to the degree that it's important, because with other animals, direct gaze is very threatening. For us, it can be threatening, but it also can be wonderful. It can be really a moment of connection. And so, but I think with most animals, it's just a threat cue. With us, it's a way of connecting.
And so other things that you're doing in the lab, how does that make you reflect on the specialness of human beings?
Well, it keeps me busy for a very long time because there are so many ways that we are infinitely fascinating. The pleasures of the mind, all sorts of ways that we differ from other animals that we don't quite understand. So I'm busy for a long time.